I turned the key and felt it click, a small sound that meant everything. The house smelled like cedar and salt. I set an old stainless kettle on the stove and watched the kettle's lid tremble as the first bubbles rose. For a minute, I let myself be still. The water found its soft boil. The window leaned out toward the bay. I told myself, this is home. The phone lit up on the counter. One missed call. A voicemail? I pressed play. A woman's voice, brisk and bright. Get the rooms ready, food on the table. 22 people. She didn't say hello. She didn't ask. She didn't use my name. The sentence walked itself into my kitchen, set its elbows on the counter, and started giving orders to the air I had just claimed. 22 people. My son's wife, Monica, liked to gather big. She liked a scene, photos with everyone in. My son, Caleb, followed her weather like a boat tracks a bigger wake. I set the phone down. The kettle ticked at the seam. I poured hot water over a pinch of dried seaweed, a habit I brought home from a coastal friend. The steam rose with a clean mineral smell. I cupped it close to my face and reminded myself, I bought this house. I made the last payment the month I retired. I chose the blue paint. I chose the small rooms on purpose so I would have to live slowly. I took a breath and I wrote a message. Congratulations on the visit. House rules attached. Overnight capacity, 4. I will happily arrange local lodging for the rest, at my expense this time. Meals will be planned off-site in small groups. Please confirm your group counts and arrival times. I typed it twice and deleted it once. Then I pressed send. The kettle, empty now, clicked as it cooled. I pulled out a sheet of printer paper and folded it into quarters. On the top, I wrote guest list. I left space for names, children, any dietary needs. I put a dot beside Caleb, a different dot beside Monica. Then I opened the top drawer, found a stack of small envelopes, and wrote motel voucher on the front of each with a fat black marker. Old teacher habit. Labels, calm chaos. I called Nora, who taught 3rd grade with me for 20 years and retired the same spring. You finally breathed yet? She said. I tried, I said. Then a wind named 22 people came through. Okay, she said. What do you need? Company and a ride to Mr. Patel's place, I said. He managed 3 little motels along the highway, clean and stubbornly cheerful. We'll book rooms in clusters. Folks can nap, shower, recover. This house sleeps 4. I mean to keep it that way. Boundary, Nora said, like a good word placed in a child's palm. I'm coming. Before she pulled in, I walked next door to see Mr. Dalton, who has hands forever nicked by cats and hearts, being the town's veterinarian and part-time rescuer of people on their worst days. I asked about parking, about noise, about what would keep peace with these shingles and these neighbors. He told me plainly. No overnight street parking on the bend. Quiet hours after 10. Call him if I need a steady voice in a doorway. Back in my kitchen, I rewound the voicemail and listened once more to every syllable. Get the rooms ready, food on the table, 22 people. The sentence sounded less like a plan and more like a dare. I poured another cup of seaweed tea. I wrote house rules in my neat hand on cardstock. No more than 4 overnight guests. Quiet hours after 10. Shoes by the door. Please respect the dunes. If you need anything, ask. I taped the card just inside the back door where sunlight and honesty could find it. How to, softly. When family plans outgrow the walls you own, put your non-negotiables in writing. Keep the words short. Put safety and local rules first, so the no is not a judgment. It's a condition of care. This is not legal advice. Consult a local professional. By the time Nora arrived, the bay was the color of pewter. We drove to Mr. Patel's. We booked what he had left in 2s and 3s, little rooms with thin quilts and decent locks. I asked for check-in times, staggered, a trick to keep too many suitcases from landing in my hallway at once. He slid a stack of stamped vouchers across the desk. I wrote names on the envelopes right there, slow and careful, so each one felt like a welcome instead of a rejection. Back home, I stacked the envelopes on the counter. I counted them. I counted out loud. 1, 2, 3. The house listened without judgment. When my phone buzzed again, Caleb's name was on the screen. "Mom," he said. I could hear a car, a road, a breath held and released. Monica's excited. Her parents are flying in. Her brother's bringing the twins. "I'm glad," I said. "I'm excited too." "There's talk of everyone staying together," he said. "I've made other arrangements," I said. "This house sleeps 4. I've got motels lined up, restaurant reservations scattered, and a list. You'll see." He let silence work. I let it too. 5 seconds, then 10, then a small sigh. "Okay," he said. "We'll make it work." The kettle cooled on the stove. The house watched us both draw a line, not to push the other out, but to keep the floor under our feet. The next morning, I sat at the little kitchen table with the guest list folded in quarters. The paper made an easy map of the people coming toward my door. I wrote their names in pencil because erasing is a form of mercy. Beside each adult, I wrote 2 notes, where they would sleep and where they would eat at least one meal away from my kitchen. I wrote down Sandwich Shop, Harbor Diner, and Mr. Patel's cozy rooms with the salt-stiff curtains. In the afternoon, I called the Homeowners Association. I asked for a copy of the current rules: parking, noise, occupancy. A woman named Andrea emailed a PDF while we spoke. She told me what she tells every new owner: "Your neighbors are your weather. Calm them, and you calm yourself." I took notes in the margin of my house rules. I underlined quiet hours and added a small sentence about no fireworks, no fires in the dunes, no extra cars sleeping on the bend. I smiled at the printer as it spit out a crisp copy, still warm. I slid it into a plastic sleeve and pinned it on the cork board by the door. "How to?" Gently. When you need to set a boundary, look up the rules that already exist. Let them carry some of the weight. Print them. Keep them visible. If your situation touches legal or insurance obligations, contact your HOA, your insurer, or a local attorney to understand your obligations. This is not legal advice. Consult a local professional. I dialed 3 restaurants and asked for tidy times. 2 tables at 5 here, 4 at 6:30 there, a loose promise of chowder on a windy night from the Harbor Diner that knows us from winters. I scheduled with Renee, who runs the whale-watching boat, for a morning when the forecast looked calm. She promised a slow ride and good rails to lean on. "Families think togetherness means the same room," she said. "I've seen better togetherness on a deck, where the horizon keeps everyone humble." When I hung up, I felt the house settle under me. The floorboards had their soft creaks already mapped, foot by foot. I made a second card of house rules and slipped it into a wooden frame Nora brought over. On the back, I tucked a photo of Caleb at 8, standing in a puddle and grinning like he invented rain. I needed to remember that boy while I handled the man. Monica texted once, "We'll arrive at 4. She added a long line of smiley faces and a cake emoji and a palm tree, as if emojis could grow on pine coasts. I answered, "Wonderful." Envelopes ready for each group. Check-in times and dinner plans enclosed. "Welcome home to the sea." I carried the stack of envelopes around the house, figuring where to place them. The front hall table, polished and plain. The kitchen counter near the tea tins, where the smell of seaweed would make its case that this is a house for quiet first. I made one more envelope with no name on it, a spare for the stranger who always appears, a cousin's roommate, or a friend's plus one. You prepare for the unknown by making a space for it to land gently. Before bed, I walked next door again. Mr. Dalton stood with a bag of feed and a smile made for tired people. If voices get sharp, I asked, what's the kind way to soften them? Give them a task that uses their hands, he said. Hand them a broom. Send them for ice. Busy hands have less room for fear. I slept with the window cracked and the sound of the bay entering the room as if it owned it. I didn't mind. The water asks. It moves with permission. In the morning, I boiled water and made 2 drinks. 1 cup of black tea, in case someone's comfort required it, and 1 cup of seaweed tea because mine did. I set both on the table beside the envelopes and the framed rules. The guest list, folded, lay like a small book waiting to be signed. By afternoon, cars began to trundle down the bend. Tires found the gravel. I wiped my hands on a towel and stood where I could see the door, but not block it. It mattered that the first thing they saw was not my fear. It mattered that they saw a home and a woman who sits inside it, steady. The first through the door were Monica's parents, bright with air travel and nerves. Monica's mother kissed my cheek and looked past my shoulder and said, "Where do we put the luggage?" As if a house answers with a bellhop. "In the hall for now," I said, smiling. "I have your rooms ready." And I placed the envelope in her hand. Her fingers touched the black letters, motel voucher, and paused. The pause lasted almost a second. Then she nodded. "Oh," she said, "thank you." Monica swept in next, citrus perfume leading, voice already carrying. "We'll need 3 rooms upstairs," she said, "and space for a pack and play." "This house sleeps 4, I said, as gently as I would tell a child the tide is not a game. I handed her an envelope with her name. "Your room is at Mr. Patel's, 2 blocks from the harbor. Check in at 5. Your dinner time is 6:30 at the diner. I'm keeping the kids' bedtime early, so they eat first with me here at 5. She looked at the envelope like it was a test she hadn't studied for. Her eyes flicked to Caleb. He came in behind her, shoulders tucked. He took the envelope with both hands when I offered his. He read his own name, like proof he existed in my plan. My neighbor's dog barked once. The room took that as a cue to breathe. "I thought we'd all be here," Monica said, softer now, as if maybe I held a better idea in my pocket and I might trade for hers. "You are here," I said. "You'll be here in the morning for coffee. You'll be here in the afternoon on the porch. And your beds are under roofs that were ready for you." I lifted my chin toward the framed rules. "This little house is new to me. She's small. She keeps better when we keep her calm." Behind Monica, her brother's twins chased each other around the entry rug. Their mother caught my eye and mouthed, "Thank you." My plan was not the world's end. It was a soft landing. Some people know a gift when they feel its edges. I invited the children into the kitchen and showed them the jar of shells I keep by the sink, striped and worn smooth by water. I poured a little black tea for anyone who wanted it. Then I poured seaweed tea into my own cup and let the scent do its quiet work, the smell of tide pools and something alive beneath the surface. The house watched me choose to be ordinary. That is a kind of strength. Monica studied the rules. She found the sentence about quiet hours and read it like it might change if she stared long enough. She set the frame down and lifted her phone. "Mom," she said into it, "there's a change of plan. It's okay. It's different." I guided people to the porch to read their envelopes and find keys within. Mr. Patel's rooms. Check-in times. Directions scribbled in the margin like you do for people you love. I reminded those staying here. 4 beds, not 5. Where to set shoes, where to hang towels, how to open the window without sticking the sash. I asked Caleb to help his in-laws carry a cooler to their car. I asked Monica to choose which restaurant she preferred for Saturday, the earlier or the later slot. Tasks, hands working, fear, shrinking. There were small frictions like sand in a shoe. A cousin frowned at the word motel. An uncle blinked when he realized there would be no sprawling feast in my kitchen. "We came to see the whole family," he said. "You will," I said. "You'll see them in town and on the water and right here in daylight, without stepping over bodies at midnight." He laughed once. The edge in his voice clattered to the floor. "Fair enough," he said. He slid his voucher into his wallet and patted it like a receipt of something he had almost bought with a complaint. At 5, I made a plate of little sandwiches for the children, still within my 4-person capacity. Cream cheese and cucumber. A soup pot warmed on the back burner. A simple chowder to feed whoever's feet remained. The rest would meet their dinners at tables built for that volume, with staff who know how to carry weight. Strangers should not hand to a grandmother on her first week of rest. Caleb circled back to the kitchen, stood with his hands in his pockets, looked at the framed rules again, looked at me. "You wrote them nicely," he said. "I wanted them to be kind," I said. He nodded. "I didn't think," he said. "About the house. I thought about how easy it is to say yes to everyone." "I know," I said. "You have always had a big yes." I set a bowl of chowder in front of him and a spoon beside it. "I am trying to grow a better no." He smiled, the old 8-year-old smile still hidden somewhere in his face. He ate quietly. He washed his bowl without being asked. It is not a miracle to wash a bowl, but every piece is made of such unremarkable acts. How to steady. When you deliver a boundary to family, keep it face to face when possible and hand them something, a plan, a room key, a simple schedule. So you are not withdrawing love, you are offering structure. Keep your words short and repeatable. If conflict escalates, step out to breathe and return to the line you set. If you need formal help, such as revising house policies or addressing liability, contact a local attorney or your insurer. This is not legal advice. Consult a local professional. Night came without ceremony. 4 slept under my roof. The rest found their keys, their showers, their own quiet. No one filled my hallway with damp beach towels. No one argued with a wall. In the morning we would ride the boat with Renee, and maybe the sea would do what it always does. Remind us that size and power are not the same. Psst, full VO, Part 2-2, English VO only, Act 4, Consequences in the slow repair. Morning came in a blue-gray hush. I brewed coffee for the ones under my roof and warmed the kettle for my seaweed tea. The framed house rules caught a bar of light. I wiped a small fingerprint from the glass and let it be a reminder that rules are most beautiful when they have been handled. We walked to the harbor in 2s and 3s. Renee waved from the dock, the boat shouldering the tide like a calm animal. I counted heads the way teachers do, out of habit and love. The twins wore matching caps. Monica's parents kept their hands tucked into their jackets, new to this kind of chill. Caleb walked beside me without talking, which I have learned is his form of apology when the words feel too heavy to lift yet. The horn sounded low and generous. We pulled from the pier. The town leaned back and turned small. On the open water, people have to look at the same horizon. It evens us. Early on, the sea had her playful role. A cousin turned a soft shade of gray. An uncle sat suddenly and focused on the distance. The twins learned that leaning into the dip feels better than stiffening against it. Renee pointed, and a line of backs broke the surface, far off, the memory of whales, if not their bodies yet. The deck broke into gentle chatter. Cameras rose and fell. I felt Monica step up beside me. She held the rail with both hands, knuckles pale, breath steadying. "This was a good idea," she said, and the words arranged themselves like stones in a brook, making it easier to cross. "I like when the world is big," I said. "It helps me keep my voice small." She laughed softly. It didn't ring like victory or defeat. It sounded like a doorway opening to a room where we might someday sit and tell the truth without defending ourselves from it. When the whales breached, 3 arcs, one after another, the water lifting like muscle, every mouth opened. Every little quarrel in their pockets went quiet. The twins pressed against the rail and screamed delighted fear, and then clapped and then shivered, which is how awe feels in small bodies. Renee clicked her tongue and said, as she always does, "They don't belong to us. We belong to a place lucky enough to see them." After, the sea tossed us a reminder. A bigger swell, a stomach's second thoughts. 2 people leaned over the side. Caleb fetched paper cups of water. Monica rubbed her mother's back. The boat did what boats do. It threw off what was not secured and kept what chose to hold on. When we returned to the dock, our feet touched land with a gratitude no one had to name. Back at the house, I set out a plate of crackers and fruit while people sorted themselves to naps and quiet. Mr. Dalton arrived with a basket of apples and a note from his wife about a pie cooling on their counter. He stood on the threshold and took the house in with a satisfied nod, as a person does when the animal he tended stands on all fours again. "Looks like you kept the wind low," he said. "I had help," I said, "from the water and time." He tilted his head toward the framed rules and writing things down. Monica took a broom from the corner, unasked. She swept the bit of sand we had carried in on our shoes, the quietest apology a house understands. Caleb washed a stack of cups. On the porch, someone laughed, the sound catching and carrying. It was not the laughter of triumph. It was the laughter of relief, that thin film over the surface of forgiveness. In the late afternoon, I sat with Nora at the kitchen table. We wrote a few thank you notes on the back of reserved motel receipts. "Thank you for your help. So glad you're here. Let's meet at the diner at 6. I slid one under the door of Monica's parents' room when we walked to town. A plan can be firm and still be kind. Envelopes can carry grace as easily as they carry keys. How to, practical. After a hard boundary holds, look for one small repair you can make with your hands. A note, a sweep, a shared task. Let those concrete gestures speak louder than a speech. If you need to formalize ongoing expectations, guest limits, quiet hours, parking, consider adding them to a simple written policy you send before future visits. For questions about liability or occupancy limits in your area, reach out to your insurer, HOA, or a local attorney. This is not legal advice. Consult a local professional. Evening draped itself over the bay. At dinner, the diner windows turned into soft mirrors, and I watched our table inside them, the twins drawing whales on the paper placemats, Monica passing ketchup, Caleb pulling his chair closer to hear his father-in-law. Monica lifted her glass and met my eyes. "To your house," she said, "and to good sleep." We walked home in small knots of conversation. Porch lights blinked on like nods from the neighborhood that had watched us arrive and will watch us again. At my door, I lifted the framed rules, not to change them, but to make sure the tape still held. It did. Act V. The warm ending, conditional and true. On the last night, I set a small metal bowl on the porch and struck a match. The flame caught on a little pyramid of cedar shavings. We didn't need a bonfire. We needed one flame we could keep together without smoke in our eyes. People carried chairs out in ones and twos. The twins fell asleep on laps and shoulders, under borrowed blankets that smelled of laundry and sea. I set a stack of small index cards on the table beside a pen wrapped in blue tape so it wouldn't walk away in a pocket. "Write one summer wish," I said. "For this place, for yourself, for somebody you love." There was some shuffling, some joking about who gets wishes at this age, but then the steady scratch of pen on card. Wishes came in as quietly as tidewater. Rest, a canoe trip. A few days where the world doesn't ask for more than we can give. A call to a sister who stopped calling. A new recipe that doesn't make a mess of a small kitchen. The twins wished for whales to come back next time and for pancakes shaped like whales. Both are achievable in their own ways. When it came to Monica, she wrote slowly, then folded the card once and put it under the edge of the bowl as if to keep it from flying away. She cleared her throat. "I'd like to read it," she said, and her voice had that careful steadiness that means the truth has a turn to speak. She read, "I wish for visits that feel like we're not taking something from you." There was no applause. There was a kind of untying in the air. Caleb reached for her hand. He looked at me and nodded once. I nodded back. And we have our own language, old and spare. I took out my phone and opened a blank note. "Let's write a short set of family visit guidelines," I said. "Something we can send before the next trip, so the plan isn't invented in a kitchen with too many shoes." The words came like they do at the end of a long day, unadorned, useful. Visits scheduled at least 2 weeks ahead. Overnight capacity, 4. Additional guests stay at local lodging. Host will share options, but not manage bookings beyond the first visit. Quiet hours, parking rules, shared meals planned off-site in small groups, with one light breakfast here most mornings. Respect for neighbors, dunes, and the smallness that keeps this place safe. We read it out loud twice. We trimmed a sentence that apologized for too much. We added one line at the end: "If you have a special need, tell us early so we can make a plan." Monica asked to add, "Hosts may change the plan if safety, weather, or health requires it." We agreed. There is no justice in a plan that cannot bend for a fever or a storm. How to clear. Put your boundary into a repeatable routine. Write a short guideline once and reuse it. Keep it specific. Numbers, times, limits. Share it before feelings are hot. If you anticipate disputes, keep copies of your notes and messages and consider sending a summary email after calls. For families managing shared property or caretaking, you may also explore tools like a calendar, cost sharing, or, if appropriate, a simple written agreement. This is not legal advice. Consult a local professional. Before bed, I took the framed rules off the wall and slid the new guideline behind it, the way people press a leaf in a book and let time decide what to keep. I placed the stack of motel vouchers back in the drawer with the tea. Beside them, I put the guest list, folded once more, names fading gently into the paper, as if the plan itself knew it had done its job and could rest. Morning brought the small choreography of departure. Vouchers returned with thank yous written in the margins. Keys stacked by the door. A child's drawing of a whale tucked under a magnet on the fridge. Monica brought me a loaf of bread she'd bought at the bakery as a peace offering that felt more like a partnership. Caleb carried out the trash without commentary, which is my favorite kind of help. On the porch, with the car doors open and the tide turning, Caleb hugged me long and easy. "Mom," he said, "thanks for holding the line." "Thank you for learning it with me," I said. Monica came next. She stepped in, less perfume and more person. "Next time," she said, "we'll confirm numbers early, and I'll book our own rooms." "Next time," I said, "we'll make pancakes shaped like whales." She laughed, and I heard the future crack a window to let air in. After they drove away, the house sat with me in the quiet it had earned. I washed the few cups left in the sink and set them to dry. I stood at the back door and read the rules again, the way you reread a vow not to love its language, but to honor its promise. I made a cup of seaweed tea. I held it as if it were a small lantern I could carry from room to room, naming what we had kept: safety, dignity, a place for rest, and what we had learned: that family can be large without being everywhere at once. Out on the bay, the water lifted and fell. Even the horizon, which looks like a straight line, is actually curve upon curve if you stand at the right angle. Boundaries are like that too. They are not the end of love. They are the shape love takes when it finally feels safe. Comment CTA. Have you ever had to set a 4 people only kind of boundary with family? What did you write down to make it work?